And now it's time for the latest exciting episode of Doz's Television Workshop.
Hello and welcome back to Doz's Television Workshop, where today we're going to be having a look at this K44 CW keyboard from Handcrafters. Now there's a reason I've picked this up, and that's because I quite miss sending CW or Morse code on my ham radio gear, and I can't send it because of the old tremor. I get quite nervous when I'm trying to send CW anyway, worried about making a mistake and making a fool of myself, so I end up sending utter garbage. And until this goes away or we get cured of it, it's not happening. So I have looked at a couple of solutions using a Raspberry Pi to try and send CW via my radio, and I'm not having a lot of luck with them, to be quite honest. I don't quite know what I'm doing wrong, but I'm clearly doing something wrong. If anybody could recommend a decent Raspberry Pi program for doing such things, please leave a comment in the comments below. I'd like to see that. But in the interim, I bought this on eBay. Wasn't too much money really. So all I've got to do is connect it to my IC7300 transceiver. So let's have a look at the specs. I'll just take you through the unit first. We've got some sort of signal level monitoring LEDs on the front there. A little push come turny encoder type arrangement there. And on the rear, we've got a power input socket, an audio input socket, and that enables it to decode. PDL, which is for a paddle. Now I do have a paddle key, and it used to be my preferred key, but again, with the tremor, it's just horrible. A PS2 keyboard socket there, and a key out, which goes to the key jack on my transceiver and actually keys the radio to send the dots and dashes for us. So that's the unit. We've got an LCD display there, and yeah, quite nice. It's got a touch of damage on the corner there, but not worried about that. So we need to interface it to the radio. So let's go and have a look at the instruction manual for this and work out how we're going to do that. Right, so here's the K44 CW keyboard and reader user manual. K1EL ham radio kits, k1el.com. I'm not sure if this is still current. This is dated 22nd of February 2019, being American. And there we are. A bit of bump. So there we go. It tells us all about a bit of marketing spiel really, but here we go. This is the important bit, the back panel. So we've got our power audio in, paddle, keyboard, and key out jacks. So to get the unit to operate, it's a 2.1mm DC jack, 8 to 10 volts. I'm going to come back to that in a minute. Audio input, stereo jack, but we don't need the middle pin, so we could presumably use a mono jack if we wanted to. Iambic paddle I'm not going to connect because I can't use one. And here's the keying output to the transceiver. With the icon, if it's set to CW, I think we only need the key and ground. So there we go. Right, what keyboard to use? It tells us about have to have a PS2 keyboard. Well, that's no problem. Now here's the interesting thing. K44 requires an external power supply in the range 9 to 13.5 volts. Optimal is 9 to 12 volts. 8 to 10 volts. So what do they mean here? So I run my radio at 13.8, so that's already over the top of that. So we're going to have to scrub off a few volts somewhere, or put a regulator in perhaps. So yeah, that's what we need to do. It's center positive, as is normally the way, and there we go. So that's that. And then what can we do at the radio end? Well, I've got the IC7300 book here, and we have details of our connectors. So the accessory socket is where we'll be able to pull out a few things. So we've got 8 volts. Sadly, less than 10 milliamps. Well, our keyboard controller is going to use more than 10 milliamps. Otherwise, that 8 volts would have been ideal. Send we're not going to be using. BDT, don't know what that does, it says not used. Band, this changes a voltage used for controlling amplifiers to automatically select the band, not interested in that. ALC, not interested in that. Not connected. 13.8 volts when the power is on. Output current maximum of an amp. A little bit too many volts, but we're going to work with that. T key not used. RTTY not interested. Modulator not interested. Fixed AF detector or receive IF output. So that's our audio frequency. That's on pin 12, which is there. So that's good. We're going to need ground, which is on pin 2. And we're going to need 13.8 volts, which is on pin 8 there, between there and ground as well for our power. Yeah, so that's good. That's what we're going to be using to connect to the input side and power side of the unit. The other thing we need is key, and this is quite straightforward. It's a 1/4 inch jack, so I'll need to find one of those, and basically it's the tip and the ring there that we need to connect. We don't need to enable PTT with this radio as far as I'm aware. Right, let's make that lead up and go with that and see how we're going to deal with our 13.8 volts. Right, I've equipped myself with a few bits and pieces. I've got some probably pre-enjoyed 3.5mm jacks. I've got a 1/4 inch there that's brand fire new. I've got a DC barrel that's 2.1mm. I think I may wish to check that in a minute because it came out of a box, and I've got the rather unusual looking 13-pin DIN plug which fits the rear of the radio. I've also got a slack handful of diodes, and that's how we're going to deal with our voltage discrepancies. So yeah, first lead I'm going to make up is just the jack lead, because the key lead, because it's straightforward. It's our 3.5mm out to 6.35, a 1/4 inch in to the radio. So I'm just going to make that first. This thing's not going to live far away from the radio, so I think that'll do us in lead length. This is ordinary shielded audio lead. We're only going to want one part of it, so let's just get ourselves a chunk of that. I'll do the 1/4 inch end first. I'm not going to put that on because I can still access the other end. There is an insulator up in there. I shall leave it in there for now. So we are just going to want tip and sleeve. Now the tip is the middle one. That'll be that one there, and the sleeve is that one. This middle one is ring. And in fact, just to avoid problems, I'm going to cut that off. There we go. Okay, don't want that shorting out. There we go. Yep, we don't need it, so get rid. We're just going to tin. The iron would be a lot better if it was switched on. I generally find they work much better when they're warm. Let's wait a couple of seconds for that to heat. There we go. Okay, I'm just going to tin that one connector up there, tin this one up somewhere on here. More heat, more solder required. There we go. Okay, let's just strip this off. We ain't going to want much. Peel that back and just twist it together. That's our screen, which is going to form our ground. Just going to trim that back a little. There we go. And then strip the centre. That's good. Let's get another bit of blue tack, just tin all that up nicely. And then simply solder the thing up. I'm just going to tin that a little more. You can't really see that there, can you? Let's put that in camera shot a bit more and zoom in. There. Is that in focus? Who knows? Tip on there. Move that out of the way so we don't melt it. Ground on there. That's that end made. And we'll try and crimp this over nicely so it forms a bit of strain relief around the end of the cable there. Just fold them over. I found the round ends on these strippers here to be quite useful for this actually. It forms it quite nicely. That's not going anywhere. Put the other end of the cover on. That's nice and easy, and yeah, we shall do the same with this end. Again, we don't want that one leg in there, so I'm just going to cut that off. There we go. Did remember to put the sleeve on this time, that's good, because this time we haven't got a get out of jail free card. Again, just form with a strain relief around the cable a bit. That's good. And then just perform a sanity check, really. I think we'll just put a meter across that and see what it's looking like. Okay, we should have nothing there. We should have something there. We should have nothing there. We should have nothing there. We should have nothing there. Sorry, we should have continuity there. So, yep, that checks out perfectly. So that's going to be our key out to the key jack on the transceiver. Right, part one. Part two, this is where it all gets a little more complicated. Okay, I'm going to make the audio jack up. I've got two to choose from here. I've got a sort of plastic one and a metal one. I'm quite liking the idea of the metal one, to be honest. So let's just see if this is salvageable for a start. Yeah, I think we can get away with recycling that a little bit. So always good to recycle. Heat it from the back, it'll go. There we are. Okay, that's all good. Tin it up with a little bit of fresh solder. Now we come to the more complicated end of the arrangement, which is going to be the 13-pin connector that goes in the rear of the transceiver. So these are horrible, these connectors, let's be honest. Nobody likes a DIN connector. You've got to work very quickly because the heat travels down the pin at some rate and ruins your day rapidly. So I'm just going to refer back to section 12 of my manual. There we are. Just lay that out in front of me there. So our audio is on pin 12, which is this one here, right in the top left hand corner, top right hand corner, sorry. So let me get my lead, but the ground is all the way down on pin 2, which is that one there. And also I need to take power there as well. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave pin 2 disconnected for now, and I'll probably make a wire up because it'll probably want to connect to the shield anyway for a bit of extra screening. I don't know quite how I'm going to do that yet, but let's I wonder if we next actually we do put the 13.8 volts in, which is that pin there. So we're going to need some quite small connectors to get in there, some small wiring to get in there. So let's tin up what we need to deal with anyway, because these haven't actually got holes in these pins, I've just noticed, at least I don't think they have. Let me just have a look under the old magnifier there. No, they don't, they're just plain pins. Gonna be tricky to get it all in. Okay, that's that one. Underneath it here is our 13.8 volts. And its pin 2 is ground. I think what I might do is put a separate wire on that and then make the grounds inside the connector somewhere. I think that would be by far the better idea. Right. So let me go and find some lead to connect to the power. Right, well, I've had a look round the workshop for something suitable for power. Really struggling a bit, other than some sort of ribbon cable that was pretty horrible. And yeah, so what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go with another bit of this screened lead. Now, it's not ideal, but yeah, it's what we've got. So that's what we're going to be going with. I'm actually going to cut off. I just realised I've got that upside down, haven't I? That's pin 12. That's pin 2. That's pin 8. That actually makes life a bit easier. Oh, good spot there in the nick of time. So that's our pin 12, which is our audio. Oh, something I do need to do first. Let's put that on. I can deal with the power afterwards because I haven't fitted the other end yet, but I do need to put it on the audio jack. So let's get on with that. Put this one on first. I'm going to be quite generous with the gap in the insulation this time because I want to pair the COM and the grounds up with the power in a minute. So yeah, let's get that off there. Missing a strand. There we go. So the grounds are going to common up on pin 2. Yeah, okay. Where is the power wire that I just cut? There it is. Might as well get those the same while we're at it. That's audio Oh, I've used the same colour there. That's not sensible. Let's get myself the other channel off the lead. And that's white. So white for power, red for signal. Just how it's worked out. Never mind, eh? Okay, that's good. And pin 2 is this one here. Now if I keep this really short, we shouldn't have any issues with a potential short circuit inside the plug, because it won't be able to go anywhere. Just want to make sure I haven't got a short in there. I think I may have. Where is the magnifying equipment gone? Just going to beep that out, make sure I haven't dropped pins 2 and 1 together, because that's ground at 8 volts. That would not be good. I could cut pin 1 off actually, that's probably a good idea. So that's ground. There is nothing there. That's wonderful news. I am just going to cut pin 1 off. Yep, that's good. Right, reassemble the plug. A little bit of crimpage on the strain relief. Excellent. I'm just going to slip the power wire through the cover, pull it all together, and we're starting to get there. Okay, that's sort of the radio end of it finished. So now we've got to fit the 2.1mm DC jack, but we've got to lose a load of volts on the way. So what I'm proposing to do for that is I'm going to stick a string of diodes in, because these are ordinary silicon diodes, 1N4148s, and each one's going to lose us sort of 0.6 of a volt, 0.5 of a volt probably. So I've got 5 there, and that'll take us down nicely from 13.8 to somewhere in our safe working area. So I'm just going to crop these off. Start soldering them together, I think. It's probably a good idea. So it's just a series chain of diodes. So there you go, that's our string of diodes all ready. Now we need to insert that into our power lead somehow. So what I propose to do is lop a bit off. I'm going to put that in there and heat shrink it all up together. So this is good. This time I want to strip quite a lot of this out, because I want to be able to connect the grounds together. So right, I just want a piece of heat shrink now. So we want about that much on there, probably a little bit more. Just going to push that over this piece. Let's just tin that end up first. The diodes, by the way, are pointing in the direction of the keyer and not the radio. So the power is coming out of there, flowing across the diodes, losing a little bit of voltage along the way, and keeping everything happy. So this end I'm soldering up now is the one that ends up at the keyboard. There we go, it's on there. We shall slip that down over there. That's okay. I should reconnect the grounds and then put a piece of heat shrink over the whole shooting match. So there we are. There we go, that should take care of our excess voltage situation. So the last thing to do is just to connect the 2.1mm DC jack to this end, and we should be good to go. Right, let's find a keyboard and see if it works. So I got the keyer plugged in, where are we there? Into the radio there, and switched it on, and it all works fine, with one massive caveat. Yeah, I just couldn't receive anything on any bands, and yeah, really poor, super poor. So poor, I wondered if we'd had another solar event, so I went and checked the current conditions on shortwave, and yeah, they seem to be okay. But it was just like my aerial had fallen off, so I'll go and show you what I found. Wistaria's taken a bit of a fancy to the little mast. Anyway, yeah. I think I can see the problem. Seems to be a little bit of an air gap. So I've been on Tinkercad and sort of created this bit of a sort of strain relief thing here. In fact, you can probably hear it 3D printing as we speak in the background. The idea is these two holes locate over the nuts on the ballon, and then our ladder line comes along here, and of course I've printed this quite thin so it'll be semi-flexible, and of course what will happen then is I'll zip tie the ladder line to here, and of course it'll break at the end at the next strain point. But yeah, I think this is at least a temporary solution that might ease my pain. Right, just got to wait for the 3D printer to finish. Right, I've 3D printed me ladder thingy, and this is the one-to-one ballon that we didn't fit, and yep, that's sort of the idea behind it, that it's going to ladder line will come in here, we'll zip tie it to there, connect it to there, nut and bolt it all together. I do want to just put a kink in that piece, so to that end I'm just going to get the hot air gun. Set that to about 220 degrees. Just put the air up actually full speed ahead. Just put a kink in it here. There we go. That's sort of going to be the angle of that, so yeah, I'm quite happy with that. Now the other problem I've got is this is PLA, and PLA has an unpleasant habit of absorbing water, and we don't want it to obviously absorb across there, because we're going to be throwing energy away in a piece of wet plastic, which we don't want to be doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dip this in varnish and just leave it to dry. And I'm going to want a crocodile clip lead. I'm just going to immerse that in there. I get a good thick coating on there, and then I'm just going to pop it up here, let that drip off, and we should give it a couple of 3 goes at that, make 3 coats. And then when that bottom piece is done and dried, I shall turn it over and dip the other end. So that should give us some ability to hold off the unpleasant moisture absorbing quantities. This is yacht varnish, and it's for exterior woodwork apparently, but it works just fine on plastic bits as well. It's just to keep that wet out, and by dipping it, you know, we're going to get really good coverage. So yeah, all we've got to do now is wait for that to dry.
2 days later.
There, it's the new ladder piece fitted. Bit of strain relief there. It's got a bit of spring to it. Yeah, now let's go and see if we get any reception. Right, well, I've got the Kia all connected up to the radio via that plug we made, and yeah, it appears to be working reasonably well. It's decoding there. This is HA8A. Yeah, that's his call sign. So that's decoding it as a damn sight faster rate than I can read. I really need to break the rust off, and this is going to really help. I have got a slight problem with RF getting back into the keyboard. If I just tune out the way a little bit, that frequency, there's somebody there as well, let's move down a bit. Yeah, so I have got a slight problem with RF when I'm transmitting, getting back into the keyboard, anything more than about 20 watts. So I have ordered a different keyboard, because I have used this keyboard in the past and it has given me problems. But I have programmed in a couple of macros. So if I hit F1, there it is. I'm sending CQ at my extremely leisurely rate of about 15 words a minute. So yeah, it's all working perfectly, going into transmit, and all that remains to do now is to knock the rust off my CW skills a bit, and at least I haven't got to worry about the worries of keying now. Anyway, there you go. Thank you very much for watching. Click like, subscribe, do all that rubbish, and I'll see you really soon here on Doz's Television Workshop. Cheers now, bye.
Amidst the dust, they play nostalgic tunes, solder smoke, and the faint aroma of time in each repair, an art that's so prime. Magic on display, old TVs revived in a brand new way. Circuit woes, but we're getting closer. Neon signs, they guide you to the door. Tubes and screens like you've never seen before. Pulses hum, as sparks begin to fly in this tiny shop. Dreams are set too high. In Doz's shop, with a touch of love, your picture's clear and true. In Doz's hands, pixels microchips and vintage heart in a world of screens playing their parts. Circuit boards with stories to untangle, every wire a promise at an angle. With steady hands, as he bends the light through the lens, creating onyx nights. Oscillators, creating sonic waves, bringing back the charm of retro days. Capacitors and resistors. In Dozzy's touch, there's no misfire. Transistors dance to the rhythm of repair. Through the glow, feels like magic fills the air. Voltage pulses, the tune's melodic run. A symphony of sparks where the work is never done. In Dozzy's shop, with steady hands.
But yeah, it's not entirely successful. Let's do this again because I'm not happy with it. I'll scratch me bloody nose. Now I picked this up, reasonably inexpensive